Chosen one, stop scrolling. The same people who ignored you, doubted you, and walked away are now feeling your absence in a way they never expected. They thought losing you would be easy. But now, your silence is louder than their presence ever was. And something inside them won't let them rest anymore. The moment they lost you, they didn't realize your value when you were there. You gave your energy, your loyalty, your truth. And they treated it like it was ordinary. Like you were replaceable. But you were. Now the space you once filled feels different. Empty in a way they can't explain. Because your presence carried something rare. Something they will never find again. And now they feel it. Why chosen ones are always misunderstood. You were never meant to fit in. That's why people struggled to understand you. Your thoughts were deeper. Your energy was different. You saw things others ignored. You felt things others avoided. And that made them uncomfortable. So instead of trying to understand you, they labeled you. They distanced themselves. They let you go. But what they didn't realize was that they were letting go of something divine. The silent power of your absence. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to prove anything. Your absence did everything for you. Because when a chosen one walks away, they don't just leave physically. They take their light, their peace, their energy with them. And suddenly, everything feels heavier for those who lost them. They start remembering your words, your kindness, your presence. Too late. The awakening they couldn't understand. You changed and they couldn't keep up. Your awakening wasn't loud. It was quiet, internal, powerful. You started seeing through illusions, through fake connections, through shallow intentions. And that scared them. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And they knew. They could no longer control you, manipulate you, or dim your light. So they let you go. But now they regret it. Why they feel your loss so deeply. It's not just about missing you. It's about realizing what they had. You brought something into their life that they didn't appreciate at the time. Peace, depth, authenticity. Now they search for it in others. But it's not there. Because what you carried was never common. It was rare. It was chosen. And now they feel the absence of that rarity. The pain of being a chosen one. Let's be real. This journey isn't easy. You felt alone, misunderstood, disconnected. You've questioned yourself, wondered why life feels so intense for you, why people come and go, why connections don't last. But there's a reason. Chosen ones are not meant for ordinary paths. They are meant for transformation, for growth, for purpose. And that requires letting go. Again and again. The truth about losing you. They thought they could replace you. They thought someone else would fill the gap. But energy doesn't lie. And yours was different. Now they feel it in quiet moments. In empty conversations. In the absence of something they can't name. That something was you. And now it's gone. How you became stronger through loss. Every time someone walked away, you grew. Every betrayal, every disappointment, every goodbye, it shaped you. It made you stronger, wiser, more aware. You stopped chasing. You stopped forcing. You started choosing yourself. And that's when everything changed. Because a chosen one who chooses themselves becomes unstoppable. They never saw this version of you coming. They remember the old you, the one who cared too much, the one who stayed too long, the one who gave without limits. But this version is different. You've learned boundaries. You've learned silence. You've learned power. And now, they don't recognize you anymore. That's what happens when a chosen one evolves. The energy shift they can't ignore. Something changed. And they feel it. You're not reaching out anymore. You're not explaining yourself anymore. You're not seeking validation anymore. Your energy shifted inward. And that shift is louder than any words. Now they feel drawn to you again. Curious, confused, but it's not the same anymore. Because you're not the same anymore. Why your silence speaks volumes. You didn't need to argue. You didn't need to prove your worth. You just stepped back. And in that silence, everything became clear. They saw your absence. They felt your absence. They understood your value. Silence is your power now. And it's something they can't compete with. The spiritual purpose behind it all. Nothing was random. Every person who left, every connection that ended, every moment of pain, it had a purpose. To redirect you, to protect you, to elevate you. You weren't losing people. You were losing what was no longer aligned with your path. And that's growth. That's awakening. That's power. They didn't lose you, they lost access to you. Let's be clear. They didn't lose you completely. They lost access to your energy, your time, your presence, because you finally realized your worth. And once a chosen one realizes their worth, they don't go back, no matter how much others regret it. The lesson they learned too late. Now they understand. Now they see. Now they feel. But it's too late. Because growth doesn't wait. Awakening doesn't pause. And you didn't stay the same. You kept moving forward. And they stayed behind, trying to understand what they lost. The power of walking away. Walking away wasn't weakness. It was strength. It was choosing peace over chaos, truth over illusion, self-worth over attachment. And that decision changed your entire life. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is leave and never look back. You were never meant to stay small. You tried to fit in. You tried to be understood. But deep down, you always knew. You were different. You were meant for more. More depth. More purpose. More truth. And now, you're finally stepping into that. Without fear. Without hesitation. Just power. They feel your glow now. You didn't need to show off. You didn't need validation. But your growth, your peace, your energy, it's visible. And they see it now. They feel it now. And it reminds them of what they lost. The loneliness that shaped you. There were nights where you felt completely alone, where no one understood you, where you questioned everything. But those moments built you. They connected you to yourself, to your intuition, to your purpose. And now, you're stronger because of it. Why you should never go back. It's tempting when they come back, when they apologize, when they finally understand. But remember, they had their chance. and you've outgrown that version of your life. Going back would mean shrinking again, and you didn't come this far to go back to who you used to be. Your energy is your currency. Protect it. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your presence. Because your energy is powerful, and once you start guarding it, everything changes. The new life waiting for you. This is just the beginning. There's more for you. Better connections, deeper alignment, greater purpose. But you had to let go to make space for it. And now, you're ready. The truth they can't escape. No matter how much they try, they can't ignore it. They lost someone rare, someone real, someone chosen. And that realization will stay with them long after you're gone. You were never the problem. You thought it was you. You questioned yourself. But now you see, it was never you. It was their inability to understand your depth, to appreciate your energy, to match your frequency. And that's not your burden to carry anymore. Your awakening is your power. You see things differently now. You move differently now. You think differently now. That's not a flaw. That's your power. That's your awakening. And it's something no one can take away from you. Step into your true self. This is your moment to fully embrace who you are. No more hiding. No more shrinking. No more doubting. Just truth. Just power. Just alignment. Because you are chosen. And it's time you start living like it. The final message they'll never hear from you. You don't need closure. You don't need answers. Your growth is your closure. Your peace is your answer. And your silence is your final message. The moment they try to come back, watch closely. Because when your energy rises, people from your past start reappearing. Not because they've changed, but because they feel the shift in you. They sense something different, something stronger, something they no longer have access to. And suddenly, they remember you. But this time, you see them clearly. No illusions, no emotional blindness, just truth. And that changes everything. The difference between missing you and deserving you. They may miss you. They may feel your absence deeply. They may even regret how they treated you. But that doesn't mean they deserve you. Because missing someone is not the same as valuing them. And a chosen one doesn't return to places where they weren't valued. You've learned that now. And that lesson is priceless. Why your growth triggered them. Your evolution wasn't comfortable for them. It exposed their stagnation, their fears, their insecurities. You started healing, growing, leveling up, and instead of being inspired, they felt threatened because your light highlighted everything they were avoiding. So they distanced themselves. But now, they're drawn back to that same light, the very thing they ran from, the power of emotional detachment. This is where you became dangerous, not to others, but to the version of life that once controlled you. You stopped reacting. You stopped chasing. You stopped needing validation. And in that detachment, you found peace. Because when a chosen one detaches, they become free. Free from expectations. free from toxic cycles, free from emotional chains. And that freedom is something they can feel, even from a distance. They underestimated your silence. They thought your silence meant weakness. They thought you had nothing to say, nothing to offer, nothing to stand on. But your silence was transformation. While they were distracted, you were evolving. While they were comfortable, you were elevating. And now, your silence speaks louder than their noise ever could. They feel it every single day. The version of you they can't reach anymore. You've changed, not in a loud, obvious way, but in a deep, internal way. Your mindset shifted. Your standards rose. Your energy refined. And now, the old version of you is gone. The version they once knew no longer exists. And that's what they're struggling with, because they don't know how to reach this new version of you. And deep down, they know they can't. The universe removed them for a reason. You didn't lose them. The universe moved them out of your path, out of your energy, out of your future. Because where you're going, they can't follow. Not with that mindset, not with that energy. And sometimes, protection looks like loss, but it's not. It's alignment. It's redirection. It's elevation. Why you had to experience this pain, it wasn't to break you. It was to reveal you, to show you your strength, your resilience, your power. Because without the pain, you wouldn't have awakened. You wouldn't have questioned things. You wouldn't have grown. And you wouldn't have stepped into who you are now. So even the hurt had a purpose. Even the loss had meaning. The energy you carry now, you're not the same person anymore. Your energy feels different. Calmer, stronger, more grounded. You don't chase. You attract. You don't beg. You choose. You don't force. You align. And that shift is everything. Because now, you operate from power, not lack. The realization that changed everything. One day it just clicked. You saw everything clearly. Who was real? Who wasn't? What was genuine? What was fake? And in that moment, you stopped holding on. You stopped hoping people would change. You accepted the truth. And that acceptance set you free. Because clarity is power, and you finally have it. They feel your absence in their quiet moments, not in the noise, not in distractions, but in silence, late at night, when everything slows down. That's when it hits them. Memories, conversations, moments they took for granted. And suddenly, they feel it. The absence, the loss, the reality. And there's nothing they can do about it. Because you're no longer there. The strength it took to walk away. Let's not ignore this. It wasn't easy. You cared deeply. You invested emotionally. You gave your all. Walking away took everything in you. But you did it. Even when it hurt. Even when it was hard. Even when part of you wanted to stay. You chose yourself. And that choice is your greatest power. Why you will never be the same again. Once you awaken, there's no going back. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unfeel what you felt. You've grown beyond that version of your life. Beyond those people. Beyond those patterns. And now, you move differently. Think differently. Live differently. And that transformation is permanent. They're learning the hard way. Some lessons can't be taught. They have to be experienced. And losing you was their lesson. Now they understand value. Now they understand presence. Now they understand you. But understanding came after losing. And that's the price they pay. Because sometimes people only realize what they had when it's gone. The illusion they believed about you. They thought they had you figured out. They created a version of you in their mind. One that was easy to label, easy to control, easy to walk away from. But that version was never the real you. It was just their limited perception. Because a chosen one can never be fully understood by those who refuse to grow. And now, they're realizing how wrong they were. The respect they never gave. They took your kindness as weakness, your patience as tolerance, your silence as acceptance. They didn't respect you because they didn't understand you. But now, that respect has turned into regret. Because once you removed yourself, they saw your value clearly. And respect that comes after loss will never have access again. Why your boundaries changed everything. You stopped saying yes when you meant no. You stopped over-explaining yourself. You stopped allowing disrespect. And suddenly, everything shifted. Because boundaries don't push people away. They reveal who was never meant to stay. And when you started setting them, they couldn't handle it. So they left. Or you let them. Either way, it was necessary. The version of you that scares them now. You're calm. Not easily triggered. Not easily manipulated. Not easily controlled. And that calmness feels unfamiliar to them because they were used to the old you, the reactive you, the emotional you. But now, you observe more than you react. You think more than you speak. You choose more than you chase. And that version of you is powerful, too powerful for those who once underestimated you. They search for you in other people. They try to replace you. They look for your energy, your depth, your presence in someone else. But it's not there. Because what you carried was unique. It wasn't something they could just find again. It was something they were supposed to appreciate while they had it. And now, they feel the difference every single time. The karma of losing a chosen one. This isn't revenge. This is balance. When someone mishandles something rare, they don't get it back easily. Not because you're punishing them, but because the universe is correcting things. Energy must balance itself. And losing you was part of that balance. Because they didn't value what they had. And now, they live with that realization. The peace you found without them. Look at yourself now. You're calmer, clearer, more at peace. Not because life is perfect, but because you removed what disturbed your peace. And that's growth. You no longer tolerate chaos. You no longer entertain confusion. You no longer accept less than you deserve. And that peace is something they notice because they don't have it. The moment you stop seeking validation, this was a turning point. You stopped needing approval, stopped chasing recognition, stopped explaining your worth. And in that moment, you took your power back, because validation from others was never what you needed. You just needed to see yourself clearly. And now you do. And that self-awareness is unstoppable. They can feel your detachment. Even if you say nothing, they feel it. Your energy isn't reaching for them anymore. It's not tied to them anymore. It's not affected by them anymore. And that detachment creates distance, not just physically, but spiritually. Because once you detach, you disconnect on a deeper level. And that's something they can't pull you back from. The truth about their return. If they come back, it's not always because they've grown. Sometimes, it's because they lost something valuable. Sometimes, it's because they're curious. Sometimes, it's because your absence became too loud. But you must ask yourself, are they aligned with who you are now? Or are they just trying to reconnect with who you used to be? Because those are two very different things. And you already know the answer. The strength in choosing yourself again and again. This isn't a one-time decision. Choosing yourself is something you do daily. When you say no, when you walk away, when you protect your peace, it's a constant act of self-respect. And every time you choose yourself, you grow stronger, more aligned, more grounded, more powerful, until one day, it becomes your natural state. Why your energy feels unreachable now. You've elevated, not in ego, but in awareness. You see through things now. You understand energy now. You recognize patterns now. And because of that, not everyone can reach you anymore. Not everyone can connect with you anymore. Because your frequency changed. And only those who match it will stay. The realization they avoid. Deep down, they know they lost something real. Something genuine. Something rare. But accepting that truth is painful. So they distract themselves. They avoid it. They suppress it. But truth doesn't disappear. It waits. And eventually, it surfaces. And when it does, it hits harder than ever. The life you're building now. This is your new chapter. Different energy. Different mindset, different standards. You're not the same person anymore. You're more intentional, more aware, more selective. And because of that, your life is aligning, slowly but surely, with who you're meant to be. The peace they can't understand. They see you, calm, focused, unbothered. And they don't understand it, because they're still caught in chaos, still reacting, still seeking. But you've stepped out of that. And that peace confuses them, because they don't know how you found it. But you do. You found it by letting go. The closure you gave yourself. You stopped waiting for explanations. You stopped expecting apologies. You stopped needing them to understand. Because you realized something powerful. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. From accepting what happened. From seeing the truth clearly. From choosing to move forward anyway. And once you did that, you became free. The part of you that refused to break. They thought you would collapse. After everything. After the distance, after the silence, they expected you to fall apart. But you didn't. Something inside you refused to break. Even in pain, you held yourself together. Even in confusion, you kept going. And that strength is something they never understood. The emotional maturity they couldn't match. You communicated. You tried to fix things. You tried to understand. You tried to grow. But growth requires two people. And they weren't there yet. They avoided. They deflected. They stayed the same. While you were evolving. And now the gap between you is too wide to close. The distance that became permanent. At first, it was temporary. A little space. A little silence. A little time apart. But then, it became something more. A shift. A realization. A permanent change. Because sometimes, distance isn't meant to be closed. It's meant to show you what life feels like without them. And once you feel that peace, you don't go back. The truth you finally accepted. You can't force alignment. You can't force understanding. You can't force someone to meet you where you are. And once you accepted that, you let go. Not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of clarity. Because you finally saw things as they are. Not as you wished them to be. The love you gave was real. Don't question that. Don't doubt it. Don't minimize it. What you gave was genuine. Your intentions were pure. Your energy was real. Your heart was open. And just because they couldn't handle it doesn't make it any less valuable. It just means they weren't ready. The lesson you were meant to learn. Not everyone is meant to stay. Not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone is meant to grow with you. Some people are just lessons. Lessons in boundaries. Lessons in self-worth. Lessons in letting go. And once the lesson is learned, the connection ends. That's how growth works. The clarity that changed your perspective. You started seeing patterns, not just in them, but in yourself. What you tolerated, what you ignored, what you accepted. And that awareness changed everything. Because once you see clearly, you can't go back to confusion. And now, you don't ignore red flags anymore. The energy you no longer entertain. Drama, confusion, inconsistency. You used to try to fix it. Now, you walk away from it. Because your energy is too valuable. And you've learned. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything deserves your response. Not everything deserves you. The strength in your restraint. You could say a lot. You could expose everything. You could express every emotion. But you don't. Not because you calm, but because you've mastered control. You choose peace over reaction. Silence over chaos. Growth over ego. And that restraint is power. The way you outgrew the past. It didn't happen overnight. It was slow, painful, gradual, but it happened. You started letting go. Piece by piece, memory by memory. Until one day, it didn't hurt the same. It didn't control you the same. And that's when you knew. You had outgrown it. The version of you they remember is gone. They hold onto memories, of who you used to be, of how things used to feel, of what you once allowed. But that version no longer exists. You've evolved beyond it. And no matter how much they try, they can't go back to that time. Because you're not there anymore. The respect you have for yourself now. This is different. This is deeper. You don't abandon yourself anymore. You don't ignore your intuition. You don't settle for less. You stand firm. You stand clear. You stand in your truth. And that self-respect changed everything. This isn't just a video. This is your confirmation. If you felt this in your chest, if something inside you just clicked, that means you're not the same anymore. You've awakened, and there's no going back. So don't shrink again. Don't go back to people who couldn't see your worth. Don't betray your growth just to feel temporary comfort. Stand in your power fully. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you're done settling for less and ready to step into who you're truly meant to be. And listen, don't just watch in silence. Hit like if this spoke to your soul, because that tells the algorithm this message needs to reach more chosen ones like you. Subscribe to Chosen Wave right now, because this journey you're on, it's only getting deeper, stronger, and more powerful from here. Now tell me, are they feeling your absence yet, or are you just getting started?